She does, however, symbolize this part of Satan's plan, the second part of Satan's plan of lust and sexual immorality. So we're going to stick with that. This here is going to be vital. All my brothers and sisters, pay attention to this. Sisters, I would pay attention to this, because the enemy can use anything legally to turn you into this. And I don't want to see any of you go down that road. In Jesus' name, brothers, you better pay attention to this. Because this right here, you need to know. You need to. The reason why I refer to Potiphar's wife as the second part of Satan's plan is because Potiphar's wife will only show up when you're doing well. Let's say, for example, you've stopped watching certain things, you've stopped visiting certain websites, and you're starting to live righteously. You're praying more, you're reading more, heck, maybe even you're doing some fasting. You got a good thing going, and out of nowhere, and I mean out of nowhere, Potiphar's wife will show up. But I'm going to teach you how to discern her. I'm going to teach you what to do. So pay attention. She will show up out of nowhere. But she will never be a stranger. Because in the devil's plan, she's the back door you forgot to close. To put it plainly, lust brings you across certain people. People who you would never have cared about otherwise. People who you would have never had any business interacting with. For example, you as a 5.6 out of 10 guy have no business. Y'all need to hear this. You have no business being with a girl that's considered an 8 or 9 out of 10. And of course it works the same way the other way around. You've got no business being together. The demons bring you and the other people together. Whatever happens, happens. With all this said, there are 2 signs that give away Potiphar's wife. The first one is she will come out of nowhere. You could be walking down the street. One day, I don't know, go to the shop to get milk or something. And she'll jump out of nowhere behind a bush and hit you with "Long time no see. How you been?" The second is there will always be emotions involved. You'll get that text at 2 a.m. after not speaking with this person for so long you forgot they even existed. And they'll hit you with a "Hi, I miss you." They'll request to follow you on Instagram while you're having a meal with friends. Moral of the story, you have to cut those people off immediately. Potiphar's wife did 2 things in particular that back up the 2 things on our discernment checklist. As we said, there's always feelings involved, so this person is always going to be tied to you from the past in one way or another. When Potiphar's wife tried to convince Joseph, I can bet she put on the pity act. "Joseph, my husband is away and I'm so alone. Please come and keep me company. I don't want to spend another night in this bed alone." That's symbolic of the "I miss you" text. And secondly, she'll go after you when you're doing well. Joseph had spent some time in Potiphar's house. So it's not as if Joseph and Potiphar's wife didn't know each other or hadn't crossed paths before. Why is it only when Joseph started to prosper did Potiphar's wife start to pay an interest in him? Think about that. That's worth thinking about. Another thing I like that Joseph said is, how could I sin against God? Not Potiphar, but God. Because we see all that God has done. He sees all that God has done for him. So does Potiphar see all that God has done for him. So by doing this thing, Joseph would have been going against God. Therefore, we see that Joseph is producing fruits of righteousness by fearing as well as loving the Lord. Genesis 39 verse 10. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. Potiphar's wife's response was to keep pushing, to keep poking in hopes he'd give in. The moral of the story is a simple one. You have to cut them off. When those people try to come back, you gotta block, delete those numbers. You have to shut that door because the enemy will try to break in through any door you've left unlocked. Remember, the devil and the kingdom of darkness operate on an incredibly legalistic basis. The devil is all legalistic. That's why he knows the Bible better than you and I put together. Therefore, even though he's a thief, he can't outright break into your house and rob you, but rather let himself in via a door you forgot to lock. Another thing that should be mentioned is this is why it's heavily advised couples who are engaged shouldn't live with each other until they're married to prevent temptation. Joseph's situation, on the other hand, is a little bit different for two reasons. A, he was violated because he did not know Potiphar's wife would do such a thing. And B, he was a slave. He literally had no means of escaping her. He did what he could in the confines of his circumstances, and because of his righteousness, he passed the second test.